Hello everyone, this is Bloody Bananas. Welcome to a new video. In this video, I actually want to talk about 3 budget teams that I think would be very good in Ultra League Premier Cup. I did a similar video just before the beginning of this season on 3 budget teams in Great League. Just for people that don't have a lot of resources, but they also want to compete against the very best, right? Still want to compete against the top Pokemon. So these are supposed to be fun and cheap Pokemon to build, and they've been widely available in the game for a while. And also they have to be competitive at the same time, right? Because that's the whole point of playing this game. A lot of times we do want to win. We want to be competitive, even though we don't have the most resources. So here are my definitions for a budget team in Ultra League Premier Cup. So obviously there's not going to be a legendary Pokemon in the Premier Cup because they're not allowed to be in that cup. But there's going to be a lot of XL Pokemon that requires a lot of XL candies and a lot of Stardust. So it's very hard to call a team budget, but and it's also very hard to really have a budget team that doesn't even require too much resources at all, because even the cheapest team generally requires some kind of resource to build. For example, you need those 75,000 dust to move a second charge move sometimes. So for me, my definition of a budget team is summarized as below. So there's going to be at most one Pokemon requiring 75,000 dust to unlock a second charge move, meaning that if one Pokemon in that squad already requires 75,000 dust to build, the other 2 will have to be lower than 75,000 dust to unlock a second charge move. And also, second bullet point, it does not need to max out to level 40 plus. That means there's not going to be XL candies required. And also, because they don't have to max out to level 40, we don't have to spend as much dust, right? And also, they should be mostly available through trades, wild spawns, and past events. So if it's like a community move, they've been available for a really long time. And if you still didn't have access to some community moves Pokemon, you could always, spend a Elite Charge TM on a really good PvP Pokemon, right? So let's get into some of the teams that I decided would be good. So Team 1 is actually a team that I did a couple of videos before on Ultra League Premier Cup. It consists of Dragonite with Dragon Breaths as its fast move, Dragon Claw, and Hurricane as its charge move. And then we have Empoleon with Waterfall as fast move, and then Hydro Cannon Drill Peck as the charge move. And we have Swampert with Must Shot as a fast move, and Hydro Cannon Earthquake as the charge moves. So the strategy is actually very simple. It's a typical ABB line. You want to use Swampert save swap to bait out a Venusaur or a fighter, so that your Empoleon can hopefully sweep whatever is in the back. So your Empoleon can avoid the Venusaur or the fighter that your opponent may have. So a lot of times you do want to aggressively swap out into a Swampert, even though if your lead is very neutral, or even if you land a good lead, sometimes you do want to consider swapping out after winning the lead or just at the very beginning. And also you have very 2 strong coverage against XL Stunfisk. That is also something that I look for when I build a team, because XL Stunfisk is arguably one of the best Pokemon in Ultra League Premier Cup. So whatever team I build, I want to have at least 2 answers for this Pokemon, right? So the scorecard, as you guys can see, the bulk is not great, because Dragonite and Swampert and Empoleon, these are all very kind of squishy Pokemon. But good thing is that they are all very fast. They do a lot of damage. That's why the consistency is really high. And we want to look at the potential threats, because the meta scorecard is very weird in PvPoke right now for Ultra League. There's a lot of Pokemon that you'll never see, but they show up on the meta scorecard. But anyways, so the top threats, as you guys can see, we have Abomasnow. Abomasnow is actually really tough for this team. I think when I did a video on this team, I actually covered quite a lot on Abomasnow videos. So what you want to do is you want to swap into Empoleon, and you just hope for the best. It's not impossible to win because it all depends on what they have in the back line, right? And Dragonite with energy can definitely handle the Abomasnow because you can definitely hit back with the Dragon Claw and the Hurricanes. But it's still a very tough team. And then Obstagoon, obviously also a very tough Pokemon, but Dragonite generally has a fine matchup against Obstagoon. It's a very close loss. And then Swampert at the also is a very close matchup. You could flip that depending on if they get a boost or not. So this is a very interesting matchup. Machamp, it says that Dragonite loses to Machamp, but most of the time Dragonite has a pretty good matchup against Machamp in the 2 shields, right? But yeah, so you want to look for that Venusaur. You want to aggressively get the Venusaur out of there so that your Dragonite can handle that, right? So here we have some example gameplay here actually. Here we land a really bad lead against the Togekiss, which is fine. So we now swap into Swampert. They actually don't have a good answer to my Dragonite. So what I'm looking for here is that I recognize I could actually flip switch advantage with my Swampert. So I go for a Hydro Cannon first. If they decide not to shield, I can just spam Hydro Cannons to take back switch advantage. But because they shielded the first move, I'm actually going to throw Earthquake here. Just because now I guarantee that I get the last shield, or I will take out this Empoleon, right? And I think I could probably get to the second Earthquake, even if they shield this one. So I just want to take back switch advantage, and we're able to, because once we take switch advantage back, we have Empoleon versus a Togekiss, and we just absolutely roll a Togekiss with Empoleon, right? So that's what I'm looking to do here. I get off this Hydro Cannon just to chip down this Togekiss even more. And because we took back switch advantage with Swampert, basically this game is over. Well, depending on what they have in the back, unless they have another Charmer in the back, most of the time this should be pretty straightforward. But we'll see. So we got an extra move here. Obviously, we're never going to shield anything from Togekiss. They are all resisted or hit for neutral, but they don't do that much damage. They actually had an Excadrill in the back. So even if they had a Galarian Stunfisk in the back here, it's pretty much the same thing because I got so much farm, meaning that I will get two Hydro Cannons off to finish off this Excadrill. And I think this should be a pretty straightforward win. So even if this wasn't Excadrill obviously is very squishy compared to Galarian Stunfisk. Even if they had a Galarian Stunfisk here, I was definitely going to get off 2 Hydro Cannons to finish it off. And I think this should be game over. I actually just swap into my Dragonite here against my practice buddy here, because why not? Just to show that Dragonite is a Togekiss counter. But yeah, as you guys can see, if they don't have a hard answer to your Swampert, you could actually just take back switch advantage and then ended up taking the win that way, right? And then I think we have another video here. Another gameplay, we're playing against a different lead, Charizard lead. So I have 2 counters in the back. I think what I'm going to do is swap out immediately, but my opponent actually swapped out first into a Machamp. I know that my Dragonite probably has the best matchup against this Machamp, so I'm just going to stay in this matchup here. And let's see if they go for straight Rock Slide or do they go for a Cross Chop bait. Generally they go for the Cross Chop bait, but even if they go for the Cross Chop bait, I'm still going to get my second Dragon Claw off before they get to the Rock Slide, and then I can force a shield. And I will end up winning this matchup anyways. Because they went for Rock Slide, I'm just gonna overfarm just a little, slightly more, and then I got off this Dragon Claw. I know that I have 2 counters to Charizard, so if they come back in with Charizard, I'm just gonna instant swap into my Swampert because I have 2 counters anyways, right? So I might as well swap out, save my Dragonite in case they have maybe a second fighter in the back. It's a possibility. It's very unlikely, but it could be a possibility. So I'm going to overfarm, and then I throw this Hydro Cannon. This will almost one-hit KO this opponent Charizard here. Let's see. If my opponent decides not to shield, we get a little bit of lag here. Okay, a little bit of lag. Classic Niantic. Alright, so it got the opponent very low, and then they do have another fighter in the back. So it was very important that we actually saved our Dragonite in the back. Because they swapped out, I think I'm going to try to get out of here as soon as I can. I'm going to go for another Hydro Cannon before my opponent gets a move here. He probably got a move, but I don't think he wanted to throw it. So they're just trying to farm me down. I actually swap into my Dragonite because they swap into this Pokemon. I can just swap into my Dragonite here, right? And they have to dump all their energy if they have a Brave Bird in order to KO my Dragonite, or if they have a Night Slash, they have to go for 2 Night Slash, and then they will have 0 energy, right? So I could actually just Waterfall down this Surfetched, and when their Charizard comes back in, I think Empoleon will also finish it up, and that's a good game. So yeah, as you guys can see, even though we won that they're swapping their Machamp, we took out the Machamp, we still want to aggressively swap out a lot of times because you want to bait out a second fighter or a possible grass type that they may have in the back, right? Whenever you see a Charizard and a Machamp, it's very possible they get a Venusaur in the back, right? So it's just something that you want to keep in mind of every time you are playing the battle. You want to think, maybe I should swap here, or maybe I should stay in. So depending on what they have in the back, because everything you do needs to have a purpose, right? By swapping out of here, you want to bait out something that they may have in the back. And yeah, as you guys saw, we were able to secure that victory. And team number 2, again, we have Swampert. I forgot to mention, so the last team, there was only one Pokemon that required 75,000 dust to unlock a second move, and that was a Dragonite. And the other two all have Community Day moves, but they're very cheap to build generally for Empoleon and Swampert. Alright, so team number 2, we have Swampert with Mudshot, fast move, and then Hydro Cannon and Earthquake as a charge move. Escavalier has counter as fast move, and then we have Drill Run and Mega Horn as charge moves, and then Gallade as a safe swap that has Confusion, Leaf Blade, and Close Combat. So this team is also very straightforward. You have 2 covers in the back that can deal with Swampert's worst counters, which is a Venusaur, right? Generally a grass type. So you have 2 Pokemon that can handle grass type really well. And then when you safe swap into Gallade, a lot of times there is a chance of baiting out a Talonflame or Charizard in the back. So once that Talonflame or Charizard is out of there, your Escavalier can really handle a lot of Pokemon in the meta. And lastly, you have triple coverage against XL Stunfisk. Swampert and Escavalier, these are very good counters against XL Stunfisk, and then Gallade with close combat can definitely hit back against XL Stunfisk as well. Again, as you guys can see, the bulk is not exactly great, but it has very good consistency and safety. You can hit back against a lot of Pokemon. As you guys can see in the potential threats, a lot of the Pokemon you're actually not going to see. So it lists Talonflame as a potential loss for Swampert, but we all know that Swampert generally has a very good matchup against Talonflame, right? And then the other Pokemon you almost will never see. Maybe Togekiss, you will see a lot of Togekiss around, but Togekiss has such a bad matchup against XL Stunfisk, so a lot of people might not want to run a Togekiss. So in the potential threats, you don't really see like what you really could see, right? Because these Pokemon are very unrealistic to run into. And then the Talonflame, we do have Swampert to handle it, and we do want to bait it out with the Gallade safe swap. If you think they have a Talonflame in the back, right? So again, we're gonna have some example gameplay. So this team was not created by me. It was actually created by this person here that I'm playing against, Swampert. He's a friend of mine, very good battler. He got the inspiration from the Japanese players who got to Legend really early this season, who were running a double bug team, but we don't have XL Galvantula, right? So we're just replacing XL Galvantula with our Gallade. Alright. Because the purpose is also to bait out a Talonflame in the back. Alright. We landed a really bad lead, Abomasnow against our Swampert, so I instant go to the safe swap of Gallade here. And because they're staying in, it also tells me that they might not have a Talonflame in the back. Otherwise, they will probably bring that out. And they didn't shield the close combat. It's just a mind game to play a lot of times. If you think because if they shield a Leaf Blade, then that will also be really terrible for them, because then we're gonna get 2 shields with a close combat, right? And then their Swampert throws energy here to finish us off, and this is really good. My Escavalier still isn't a great answer to Swampert, so I think I actually bring out my own Swampert here, and just starts generating a lot of energy with our fast move Must Shot. I want to generate more energy before throwing my move. Also, I'm not going to shield the first one. If this is an Earthquake, then that would be really terrible for me, but I'm betting that it's not a Earthquake, so I just unshield a Hydro Cannon. That should come out with a Gyarados. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save 2 Hydro Cannons, and now I go into my Escavalier. What I'm looking to do is get damage or get that last shield. Because as soon as they're down those shields, we could definitely hit back with our Swampert, just spamming Hydro Cannons. It's still a bad matchup for our Swampert, and also because it got so much energy, it's not great for our Escavalier. They also shield our Mega Horn, so maybe I should have baited with Drill Run here, but it's looking okay here. I think I'm gonna shield once. If they want to throw 2 moves here, because they do have 2 moves, I'm gonna let the next one go, because I recognize that my opponent Gyarados is actually within 2 Hydro Cannon range here. So we'll actually let this go, because I do have 2 Hydro Cannons stored in the back. Let's see what I do here. I'm probably gonna farm just a little bit more before I throw my move. I get off this Hydro Cannon here. So my opponent is very low here, I think, after taking this Hydro Cannon, but I can't farm that much. So what I'm gonna do is I will shield this one, and I think I'm gonna farm up to 3 Must Shots, so before they get to the next one, and then I'm going to throw my Hydro Cannon. I know that I will outpace my opponent to another Hydro Cannon before my opponent Gyarados gets to Aqua Tail, right? So I just need to overfarm slightly more before I KO my opponent's Swampert. And now I just need to make sure I don't die to those Dragon Breaths, and I could safely get to 2 Hydro Cannons here. And the 2 Hydro Cannons should be enough to KO my opponent Gyarados from this health, because they're around 60% HP, and 1 Hydro Cannon does around 30% to a Gyarados. So this should be enough to KO my opponent Gyarados here, and that is a good game. Actually a very close one, but that just goes to show the power of Swampert. Once you have an energy lead, you could definitely sweep the end game, right? Next match, we're playing against the same player. He is the originator of this team. He got to like 2900s with this team during the first Ultra League rotation, so it definitely worked out really well for him. And this team is not that expensive to build, because you do Escavalier, you can get it very easily just through trades. And then Swampert, again, very, very cheap to build, as long as you have the community move of Hydro Cannon. And then you have Gallade, which is the expensive one that requires 75,000 dust to unlock a second charge move. But it's one of the best safe swaps in the game, as long as your opponent does not have a Fairy type, right? So I definitely recommend investing in a Gallade if you haven't built one yet. So here we're against a Snorlax lead, which is a very common lead that you're going to see in Ultra League, Premier Cup a lot. What I like to do is shield the first one. Obviously I'm going to throw the Hydro Cannon to chip it down. And then now my opponent goes into a Kingdra here. I have to go for this Earthquake because the Hydro Cannons are double resisted and they don't do anything against a Kingdra. So I'm going to get off this Hydro Cannon, and now I'm going to go into my... actually I'm going to build up even more energy before I go into my Escavalier. My Escavalier resists the Dragon Breath's damage. I just hope that they don't get a debuff with this Octazooka, because they're going to throw Octazooka every time, and they do get the debuff. So now my attacks are debuffed by a lot, and this is pretty terrible for me. Because this Mega Horn generally will KO my opponent, but because of that debuff, it actually does not KO my opponent Kingdra here, and I think my opponent is going to get to another move right here. And I just want to let it go because I recognize that I can farm it down, and I want to go down shields. I think that I might as well get some farm with my Gallade, but my opponent actually instant swap into Snorlax. I get to the Leaf Blade just as they get to a Body Slam, so I'm just gonna throw my Leaf Blades right away because I don't want to risk tanking a Body Slam at all, right? So I get rid of the Snorlax, and it all depends on what they have in the back. So they actually have a Gallade of their own. So I kind of need to win CMP tie here, or get their last shield. If this was CMP tie and they won the CMP tie, then I have to shield and get off this Leaf Blade because I need their shield gone. And we got rid of their shield. Now I'm gonna go into my Swampert. I recognize that my opponent is actually not in Hydro Cannon range because it costs, I think, around actually it damages around 51%, and my opponent was just barely above that range, so I have to go for this Earthquake. I can't go for the Hydro Cannon because they're gonna survive and then get a Leaf Blade off to KO my Swampert, right? So I had to go for the Earthquake to KO it, and now I'm gonna get off this Hydro Cannon just with 1 HP on my Swampert to take out my opponent Kingdra. Even if they Dragon Breaths me down here, I think they die to 1 Confusion from my Gallade, but it will be very, very close. They definitely did not have a move there, but still it was a very, very close game. And again, we have a Swampert finish in the end game. So I think this team is very well rounded. You have a very solid save swap. You have a very good game plan. You want to bait out the Talonflame, and then you have this Cavalier Swampert core, which is generally a very good core in Ultra League Premier Cup. And also you have triple counters, 2 Galarian Stunfisks. So yeah, I really think this team has a lot of play in the upcoming Ultra League Premier Cup. And team number 3, this is actually a team that's been out there for a while. I'm not sure who created it, but I was actually playing this team as well. I don't know if I created this team personally, but I played this team in Season 6, and this was actually the team that I played that got me to number 4 on the global leaderboard, which consists of a Togekiss lead with Charm, Ancient Power, Flamethrower, and then you have double normal types in the back with Obstagoon, running Counter, Cross Chop, Night Slash, and then we have Snorlax running Lick, Superpower, and Body Slam. So the game plan is also very simple because you have 2 normal types in the back. You want to use Snorlax to bait out a fighter or a flying dragon type like a Dragonite or Altaria, now that that Pokemon is also in this meta, so that Obstagoon can hopefully sweep in the end game. Also, you have double strong coverage in the back against XL Stunfisk with Obstagoon and Snorlax, right? And in the scorecard, you guys can see that it's very consistent. You can almost always output some damage against your opponent. There's nothing like that completely walls this team because you just have such a solid save swap in Snorlax, right? And also safety is very high. It lacks a little bit of bulk. Also, I need to mention that the Snorlax I'm running is actually a Shadow Snorlax. I do like Shadow Snorlax just because it can beat Venusaur in the 1 shields, which is a very, very important thing to have, right? Because generally you are the 2 Pokemon every week to Venusaur. Yeah, so you want to bait out a fighter with Snorlax, save swap, and then to finish off that fighter with Togekiss, and then eventually you have Obstagoon to finish in the end game. This team is just really solid. And in the potential threats, you guys can see Toxicroak. Togekiss can generally handle a Toxicroak, and with the energy, your Snorlax can also hit back against a Toxicroak, right? And then we have Muck, again with 2 shields. Togekiss can generally handle the Alolan Muck, unless they land 2 baits, but generally you could handle this matchup. Typhlosion is very rare to see, and then Charizard, generally your Obstagoon and Snorlax in the back can definitely handle a Charizard. Talonflame, the same thing. Obstagoon and Snorlax just have so many neutral matchups, so even though you're losing a lot of these matchups, generally you don't lose that hard. So I still think this team is very solid. And let's get into some of the battles to see how we play this team. So obviously you're weak to a Galarian Stunfisk in the lead. So you have 2 Pokemon in the back that can handle Galarian Stunfisk, right? So here we land a really good lead. I think we're gonna run into 3 games where we get hard counter in the lead, where we won lead like here, where we lose lead, or and there's also a neutral lead somewhere. So they save swap into Swampert. This is actually a very solid, well, very similar team to my double water team here. Save swapping into a Swampert. I just stay in there to do as much damage as I can before I swap out. I actually swap out into my Obstagoon because I figured that I could probably win this matchup more comfortably, but it might be a misplay. So here they get off another Hydro Cannon here. I can't shield this one. I regret farming a little bit more because having extra health here is actually very nice because I could chip down the opponent Dragonite when it comes back out. Let's see what happens here. We actually get a shield from my opponent. That's very interesting. That means my opponent might get to another move here. Actually, no, their Switch Clock came back up. That's actually a very interesting play by my opponent. They recognize that we stayed in for a while with our Togekiss so that they can swap out there and then actually take on my Obstagoon while preserving their Swampert, which is very interesting. So I come out with my Togekiss. They didn't get too much farm on my Obstagoon, so I know that they can't get to a Hurricane here. I'm not going to shield this because I know this will have to be a Dragon Claw. And it does not KO. Now we have a lot of energy on our Togekiss. And let's see what they have in the back. They did preserve the Swampert. I think it's 1 Must-Shot away from a move, but they can't bring out their Swampert against my Togekiss because it will die to 1 Charm before it gets the energy to get off the Hydro Cannon, right? They actually have a Togekiss of their own. We land an Ancient Power. Well, it gets shielded. So now I have 2 shields on my Snorlax. I bring out my Snorlax. I'm going to land this Body Slam. And I think I can just lick down everything from now with my Shadow Snorlax. So Shadow Snorlax generally will just put out a lot of pressure against any of the Pokemon. Just because how strong Lick is, the Lick damage generally will hit neutral for most of the Pokemon. And it's just very, very strong. Nothing really walls a Snorlax. So my opponent actually had a move stored on the Swampert. Very good play because now he gets the last shield. But unfortunately, our Snorlax is just has too much health for my opponent to handle. And here I'm actually going to land the superpower because why not? Whenever you have those chance to throw a move that doesn't matter to finish off your opponent, it's always good to see, right? So good game to my opponent. And next game, we actually land a really bad lead against Excadrill. You could think of this as Galarian Stunfisk. So very bad lead. I have to swap out instantly. My opponent does not have a great answer here. He does not have a fighter. So they swap into Dragonite because they want to avoid the Dragonite matchup against my Togekiss, right? What I recognize here is I could actually take back switch advantage with my Snorlax here. Because Snorlax generally has a pretty decent matchup against a Dragonite, right? Because I swap out early, I have extra energy. I'm going to get to 2 Body Slams before they get to 2 Dragon Claws. So I'm going to get off this Body Slam, and my opponent has to shield this, or I think we could actually just win this matchup. Or maybe he doesn't shield. He does shield. So now we have 2 shields up against a Dragonite. And this is now looking very good, because what we can do is farm down and land a Flamethrower on their Steel types, which will be very good. For this Togekiss, right? And also I don't think they have a fighter, so that means our Obstagoon should be pretty safe against whatever they have in the back. They actually bring out their Excadrill. That makes me think they might have another Pokemon that counters my Togekiss here, which is very interesting play by my opponent. So what I'm going to do here is shield the Drill Run, because the Drill Run will do a lot of damage. I'm going to get off this Cross Chop, also do a lot of damage to this Excadrill here. Excadrill is a very interesting Pokemon. It spams moves really fast, but it's just a lot squishier compared to a Galarian Stunfisk. Right, so Obstagoon can take it out with no problem. They actually have a Togekiss of their own. So this is very interesting because basically it comes down to charming each other down. Whoever has more health is probably gonna win this one. I can't even swap out, so what I have to do is just get as much damage as possible with my Night Slash. Because if we have higher health on our Togekiss, we can just charm it down all the way, right? We also have an extra shield, so they can't really land Ancient Power on us, so we're safe in that part. And they actually bring out their Dragonite trying to sack swap, but we can just land an Ancient Power because we didn't throw the move on the Dragonite, but I don't really think it mattered because I think my opponent was very close to dying just to my charms. So yeah, as you guys saw here, because my opponent kind of gave up switch advantage, but I think this game could be still be winnable, but it will be a lot tougher if my opponent doesn't give a switch advantage like that. But you have to take advantage of all your opponent's plays, right? Even though they might not be optimal. Alright, here we have Togekiss. This is very neutral against the Swampert. Against a neutral lead, most of the time you do want to swap out. So they actually swap out this time. I'm going to chip it down with my Togekiss a little bit more, and now I'm going to go into my Snorlax. So the thing about Snorlax versus Roserade is that Roserade has a move called Leaf Storm, which is very, very strong, hits very hard against all the Pokemon that hits neutral, right? But I know that my Snorlax probably survives one from full health, so I didn't shield the first one, and it was actually a bait, so it was perfect that we didn't shield it. My opponent is going to get off another move here. I think I'm going to shield it just in case this is a Leaf Storm. But if this is a bait, that would be very tough, right? It was actually a bait. So now I have to decide if I still want to maintain switch advantage, because I know that my Pokemon in the back can kind of handle the Swampert in the neutral scenario, so I actually just let this go. I would rather take the farm advantage here. I'm going to farm down this Roserade, and I'm very close to a move on my Togekiss. So even though I lost switch advantage, I could have taken switch advantage here and maybe win that way, but because we didn't take switch advantage, I'm just going to get off this flamethrower because we got extra farm, right? So my opponent has to shield this one, and now I'm going to instant swap into my Obstagoon. I have to hope that Obstagoon can handle both of these Pokemon. My opponent makes an amazing catch here. I was trying to get off this super effective cross chop, but it ended up hitting Swampert. Night Slash will definitely do more damage to Swampert just because it has stab. It's a dark type move, and Obstagoon is a dark type Pokemon, right? So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna let this Hydro Cannon go. I think I survived 2 Hydro Cannons from here, so I'm just gonna let both of these Hydro Cannons go. Let's see. So I get off this Night Slash. I also recognize that my switch timer is slowly coming back up. So I'm looking to swap if I can, but this is going to be very close. I got a... So here this is very interesting. I did get a CMP tie. So I know that my Night Slash will certainly KO this Swampert after this. This should KO my opponent. And now I have no shields. I am very low in health. I just have to hope that I survive whatever my opponent throws here. And then I'm going to go into my Togekiss. Does this KO me? It's a Rock Slide. So it actually does not KO. I survive with 1 health. I have to go into my Togekiss because I can't get farmed down there. I'm going to do as much damage as possible on this opponent, Excadrill. If they KO my Togekiss here, it's actually fine, because we do have a little bit of health on in the back with our Obstagoon, which should be able to finish off this Excadrill with 1 counter, which we are able to, and we survive with 1 HP. So that was actually very, very close. But as you guys see, we were thinking about the situation, and we're thinking that maybe switch advantage wasn't that important. Just because farm on Togekiss could, most of the time you can hit back against the steel type Pokemon, right? And then with the shield up, generally your Obstagoon can do a lot of work, like in this game. So that's it. That's all the 3 teams I wanted to cover for Ultra League Premier Cup. I would consider them budget just because these Pokemon have been in the game for quite a long time, and there's been a lot of events that covered these Pokemon. if you don't have one, you could definitely trade for these Pokemon as well. These Pokemon are just generally very good for Ultra League Premier Cup. Even without the XL Pokemon, these Pokemon will still be very good. And even after the XL Pokemon came out, these Pokemon also very decent against those broken Pokemon, right? A lot of people will say. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. And also shout out to all the players that helped me practice with these teams to help me get these footage out. And also shout out to all my patrons for supporting my channel. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate all of you guys' support and all of you guys for watching my video. So make sure you hit the like button and subscribe for more in the future. And I'll see you guys in my next video.